Welcome back, everyone. Here at Virtual Wish 2020, you're about to hear next from someone well known for her acting, but also for her activism and philanthropy. Back in 2006, she co-founded Eva's Heroes, a charity that supports and acts as an advocate for children with developmental needs. In 2012, she set up a foundation to empower Latina women through a focus on education and entrepreneurship. She's spoken out on self-harm and on anxiety and depression. And this year, she's highlighted how the pandemic has affected women and minority communities, often in frontline jobs and with multiple responsibilities and challenges at home as well as at work. She is Eva Longoria.
Hi, I'm Eva Longoria Baston, and I'm honored to be joining you at Wish this year. Even though the format looks a little different than years past, its mission is to create a healthier world through global collaboration. And this has never been more important than it is today. We all know the spread of COVID-19 has been rapid, and it has sent the world into shock. The virus has left people to die, families to mourn, and it's turned the most basic social interactions into political statements. This invisible threat has left visible scars on our societies. I don't have to tell you all, medical experts, policymakers, frontline healthcare workers, that this pandemic has not affected all communities equally. Around the world, low-income people, people without health care, people lacking access to clean water and sanitation, they've all been disproportionately affected by COVID-19. Here in the United States, Latinos and Black Americans are 3 times as likely to become infected with coronavirus as their white neighbors, regardless of state, region, or whether a person lives in a city or suburb or rural area. Doesn't matter. The Latinx community, which is my community, has been particularly hit hard. We're much more likely to be infected or to know someone who has COVID, in part because Latinos represent 35% of essential workers in the United States, even though we're just 18% of the population. So the Latino community is keeping the economic engine of this world going. We go to work every day to keep our country running, putting us at greater risk. For those who are infected, Latinos are hospitalized at almost 5 times the rate of white people, and we're an outsized number of deaths from COVID. We're losing people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s at alarming rates, and we're leaving children without parents or abuelos, grandparents, that they love and rely on in our close-knit families. What's more is our rates of infection and outcomes may be seriously underestimated due to undercounting. Critically inaccurate data, whether from lack of access to healthcare or testing, government undercounting, lack of options for the Latinx folks to identify their race or ethnicity on official forms, all of this means that we don't know the full extent of the crisis in our community. So we need accurate data to get the resources that our community desperately needs, like testing and contact tracing and medical treatment. We also need to recognize that while COVID is our most pressing emergency, it didn't create these disparities. The pandemic has been able to capitalize on a long-standing inequality for Latinos in the United States and marginalized people all over the world. It's brought to light the discrepancies between how communities are given timely medical information, engaged in response efforts, how they receive treatment and care, and how they're provided social support services. So by exposing these problems, we're offered the opportunity to address them. Something almost unprecedented is happening right now. We're uniting the world's best and brightest across many fields for a common cause. And we're not limited to only addressing COVID. We can bring our diverse perspectives and creative solutions to this immediate issue and the long-term conditions that make acute events like COVID so hard on marginalized people. Because the pandemic hasn't created just a medical crisis, but also an economic crisis, an educational crisis for many, many families. Monthly bills are going unpaid, businesses are failing, parents are worried that their children are falling behind at school. Joining an online lesson isn't easy if you can't access the internet from home, or if you don't have a computer or an iPad or an iPhone. So, at a time filled with uncertainty, our children are absorbing the anxieties of the grown-ups who surround them. They can feel our energy, and their window on the world can often be the very same device where cyberbullies lurk and insecurities are amplified. So over time, and if we trust in science, the terrible physical impact of COVID-19, that will wane. But its impact on our mental health and on the mental health of our children, that might linger. So even before the pandemic, 1 in 4 of us was destined to be affected by a mental disorder at some point in our lives. Mental health support must be made a priority. And in good times, education and entrepreneurship, they offer transformational paths and economic mobility, mostly to women of color. But failing to address these concerns now puts us at a risk of losing ground on global education and anti-poverty efforts. So I want to return to my point that every one of us, even those of us without medical degrees, has our part to play in responding to COVID. My part, in 2012, I started the Eva Longoria Foundation to help Latinas build better lives for themselves and their families through educational programs and entrepreneurship. And in the last 8 years, we've helped more than 29,000 Latina women and girls in the United States and Mexico through many programs in STEM education, parental engagement, mentorship, college scholarships, microloans, business training. We've done it all. And COVID has posed, increased intersectional challenges for Latina women and girls. Our team at the Eva Longoria Foundation, we've really pivoted our programs to serve Latinas with the tailored assistance that they need. As school moved online, we set up mobile hotspots. We got laptops for students who needed them. We ensured teens could still meet with their mentors virtually, especially as they felt isolated and anxious about the pandemic and about their family's health and economic security. We hosted free digital events with culturally competent therapists to help young women process and cope their emotions that COVID has caused for them. We've also continued to support our first-generation college students through scholarships that allow them to just focus on their studies. We've also launched free virtual programs to help Latina entrepreneurs pivot their businesses and succeed in e-commerce during this time. And while we're proud of all the work we've done, it's still going to take all of us working together and centering women, centering girls of color to address systemic inequalities that have been exacerbated by COVID. We have to meet the holistic needs of our global family because we live in a global community, and we have to emerge from this pandemic stronger. In the United States, we've just come off an election, a very exhaustive, big election in which a historic number of people voted. And they voted for their vision of a post-pandemic world led by people of color, people across geographies and religion and races and ethnic backgrounds. They voted for kindness, for science, for cooperation. We came together across a huge diversity of experiences to do something bigger than any of us could do alone. So I encourage you to do the same during the summit, to go beyond your area of expertise. Attend a session outside your specialty. Learn from a speaker you find inspiring on a brand new topic. Connect with an expert from another field. That kind of cross-discipline, creative collaboration and willingness to learn represents our best chance to address COVID, systemic inequalities, and other pressing global issues like climate change. There's a saying in Spanish, lo importante en una familia no es estar juntos, sino estar unidos. The important thing in a family is not being together, but being united. So though we can't be together in person, the most important thing for this global community is to remain united. And our commitment to fighting COVID, and our commitment to standing up for those who struggle to get their voices heard, and our commitment to tackling the greatest challenges our world faces today. There's so many things that we can do together, but we can't do it by ourselves. Thank you so much for your time, and everyone be well.
A special thank you to Eva Longoria for that keynote address. The discussions here now continue with a panel discussion on cybersecurity and healthcare systems. And don't forget to check out the various interactive spaces around the summit platform. Thank you.